David Littleproud, thanks for your time. Let me start with this appointment of a new Reserve Bank governor. How would you feel about a bureaucrat like Jenny Wilkinson or Stephen Kennedy getting the job?
Well, it needs to be the best person for the job, and it needs to be independent of the governor. That's the key tenet of the Reserve Bank governor, and one in which a convention I would hope that the new government respects. Obviously, all eminently qualified people, but what we also want to see in what is troubled time is continuity of the Reserve Bank in being able to continue on a trajectory to protect the economy and making some of the tough decisions they're having to at the moment, which is being exacerbated by the government's irresponsibility in terms of spending. The RBA has to respond to the financial decisions the government's making, and their job's been made harder. So what we need to make sure is that there's independence in that RBA governor in getting the monetary settings right in this country. It's a long-held principle and convention that should be respected.
Is it time the government got on with this announcement?
Well, I think it's important to give that continuity and certainty, not just to the RBA, but to the economy in knowing who will be that independent governor. And obviously, there has also been some convention in the past where the deputy governor has stood up after a time as deputy. So obviously, there's a number of names in the hat, but it's important that the independence of the RBA governor is respected, and we hope that the government respects that convention. I think it's one we should all adhere to, not only now but into the future.
Now, I wanted to ask about the EU and these trade talks. Don Farrell's rushed over there, the Trade Minister. How important is it to get this deal up, and why is there such a fuss over the names Prosecco and Feta, and is that worth risking the deal over?
It is, and it's more important that we get it right than rushing into a deal. This has been going on for some time. In fact, even when we were in government before the 19 election, there were discussions. And this is about understanding that particularly Australian agriculture will bear the brunt of this. And we hope that we don't become the whipping boys for the rest of the economy in getting a free trade agreement, because it's not just in terms of quotas that we're looking for increased in beef and lamb and wool and sugar, but it's also about geographical indicators and about the EU's attempt to actually isolate the use of those terms just for European product, rather than what we actually enjoy here in Australia, where our dairy industry can use Feta, our wine industry can use Prosecco, and we've been able to use that in a free trade agreement, a free trade environment with the EU. In fact, we import over $6 billion worth of agricultural product from the EU, but only export to the EU about $2 billion. You know, since the EU and UK left Australia in the 70s, we found this place called Asia. Asia's been very important to us, and we've also been able to expand into other markets, not only in Northern America, but right across Central Asia and into the Middle East. So we shouldn't be throwing everything out just to get an EU free trade agreement. It's not good enough. We've said to the government, have the courage to walk away and make sure that Australian agriculture doesn't hold the can on this one. It's important we get this right, not just on quotas, on geographical indicators, but also on sustainability measures. They're trying to impose a lot of European production methods on agricultural production here in Australia that simply won't work and will put our farmers out of production.